It's Saturday and I am on the train to Birmingham again. But this time I am not going to work to dig, but this time I am going to Verve Poetry Festival. It's just a weekend after Valentine's Day and a lot of people seem to be going out to celebrate. I am going to celebrate my long-lasting love, my love for poetry. I packed the whole weekend with literary events and I will show you more about this and footage from the actual festival, and we'll talk a little bit about all of the poetry going on in Birmingham right now.
I twist my hand back and forth, but everything stays the same. Which part of the dance is the hard part? All of it. At the club, nobody talks to me. They are all afraid.
Unrequited love for waving at wrist height to someone standing next to you. Wear your clothes, pretend I was you and lose control. Wear your pink glove all the time. Water slides. When someone on a bicycle bumps into a friend on a bicycle and they try to hug without getting off their bicycles.
My train was on time and I arrived on time at Birmingham Old Rep for the workshop on poetry with Anthony Anaxagorou, which unfortunately has been delayed by half an hour, but never mind, I'll have a look at the books, I'll show you what's on offer here, and later on tonight I'm going to also attend the Unislam performance event. All of this cultural and poetry richness is what I love about Birmingham as well. A formerly heavily industrial city, now the second city in the UK, Birmingham has got such a varied cultural offer with Verve Poetry Festival once a year, with Birmingham Literature Festival twice a year, and other local events from dancing, music, but also these events bring international guests as well. That's how vibrant Birmingham is and how cultural it is, although many people might not know it for that.
So this book, as Greg characterized so well, is about losing my hometown, really, through larger and larger kind of arcs. The loss of my parents, the loss of the family home, and so it's kind of my tether to the land, and then the effects of climate change. After the father's layoff, the mother suggested to her girls the usual small things. Socks, chocolate, a book.
Today is the third and last day of Verve Poetry Festival 2019, the very first edition that I am attending myself in the audience. And I'm going to wrap up my weekend extraordinaire of poetry with the performance of the Burning Eye Poets from Bristol. After this, later on when I get home tonight, I will record the core of this video with my review, my impressions from this great occasion that I can attend here in Birmingham. It's really a very impressive event of poetry for me, with great energy, with a lot to learn, and with great poets to watch on stage.
We carried on with our day as planned, hung over in the heat, a beach with 90s music shimmying from the speakers as it had done the night before, when we danced in the club where men held hands in sanctity. We went to dinner that night young and alive, and an American woman on the next table wrote more of the story than the morning headline could stand to. 50 dead, gay nightclub, homophobic attack, maybe. The conversation then continued, as a wake or an afterlife might, the words moving on so easily my throat swelled, eyes tidal. I could not hold back the break of this wave. I sat in my chair, I cried into my food, into the broth, the vessel, the earth. I cried, and I was very aware of how terribly un-British this was.
1 week has passed since the 2019 edition of the Poetry Festival, and I am due to record my review of my first time experiencing it. As you can probably hear in my voice, during this week, a flu has attacked my throat and my sinuses, which feel like they have been punched and choked, but we will ignore all of this and we will get straight to the poetry. During those 3 days that I attended, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, I couldn't help but buy 5 books of poetry from the people whom I actually saw performing. So I have got here, oh, let me get my glasses first. I can't really do without them nowadays. Scott Tyrrell with his poetry book called Honest. He is one of the Burning Eye poets. Then Nora Gomringer, who is a German ethnic poet of Swiss origin, and she approaches very heavy, dramatic themes in her poetry, and in that way she reminds me of Margaret Atwood, although that's where the resemblance between these two ladies actually ends. I've got to get rid of those glasses because I cannot actually look at you at this distance with them. Never mind. So, Nora Gomringer. Then, of course, Anthony Anaxagorou, the poet whose workshop I attended on Saturday, and I felt I benefited so much from it. Then from Friday evening, Jane Ye, a poet whom I found very playful in a very intellectual way, and that was refreshing for somebody who is very lyrical and very emotional in their writing, meaning me.
The afterlife is like a movie, edited and full of plot holes. On a leatherette settee, we twitch our ears coquettishly. We think she loves us. Green walls will with a green dress chime. The angora of our hearts softly blows whenever she draws near. The door to the past only opens one way, into a hotel room. You can't turn it off like TV.
Then Amy Key, whose poetry I found very feminine and delicate, but at the same time there is a certain strength just supporting all the gentleness of her lyricism. Yeah, I really loved all of these poets whom I saw performing and whom I recorded also, so you can have a taste of the actual event yourself. Also, what I want to give you is the few thoughts that I managed to scribble down in my notebook while doing Anthony's workshop, because they helped me reassess my poetry and where I am at this point. And at the same time, I think they are great guidelines not only for poets for writing their art, their work, but also for people who want to get a better taste of poetry, who want to be able to see a little bit more what poetry is all about. This madness that we share like a tribe of our own, just how another poet friend of mine, Paul Elwell, said in one of his pieces. Anthony led this workshop about when the poem is finished, how do we know that we edited it to its best form that we can put out there. And his thoughts around the matter that really had an impact on me. He said, the poem is bigger than yourself. Let yourself fall into what the poem wants to do. Let the idea germinate in itself. Let it be anything and everything. And all I can say is that this really goes hand in hand with thinking that poetry talks about those things that we cannot express in another way, about a certain madness of the human being which makes us different from all other beings on this earth. So that's why the poem itself can just lead us on its way. We have to listen to those core ideas that just invade us and not try to overcomplicate or not try to over-explain to the reader, because people who read poetry, they can get out of it what's important to them. That's the beauty of it after all.
I'm broken in the places I didn't expect, strong in places I rarely visit, more thorough than my cavalier demeanour would have you believe, and more wounded by being ignored than insulted. If we're being honest, I eat more ice cream while spooning it into the bowl than what actually goes into the bowl. I pee in the shower. I find pooing strangely erotic. And I throw my tipped toenails behind the telly. Oh, now we're getting judgy.
Before I conclude this vlog, because as you can see it's getting dark even for our conservatory, I want to say that the best thing that I got out of Verve Poetry Festival was a boost to my energy and to my motivation to perfect my poetry in English. I have published 2 books already in Romania before relocating to the UK. One was self-published back in my city of Timișoara, and the other one actually just got out in 2012, 1 year after I have already moved to the UK. And that one was published by the publishing house. But now I have started writing directly in English only for about 3 years after my time of isolation when I first came here to this country, and which was quite detrimental to my poetry. Especially as an extrovert person, I feel that I need the presence and the company of other like-minded people to help me stay focused. There is somehow a flow of poetry that we can feel from each other, that enthusiasm, that thirst, that hunger for writing that only feeds from the other people around you. And I can only be so grateful to live now very close to Birmingham, where I also work, because Birmingham offers such a great variety of events, cultural events, poetry, literary, but also the black country around us. But before I wrap up this video, I want to ask you, do you have a favorite poet? And what do you like the best about poetry? What is it that you get out of poetry, reading it, or even attending events like this, if you do so? Just tell me something about this if you want to in the comments under the video. And also remember to subscribe so you can keep following and watching my videos. And I think I will get these books and start reading some poetry straight away for the evening. Until next time then, ciao!
But I think we have to really reserve a little part of our minds and hearts to remember joy, to aspire to joy, and to create language for joy. And I think sometimes we forget. So when the revolution happens, right, and the dust is settled, and we're going to be like, oh, I don't even know what the fuck it is to be happy. I don't even know what that even means or how that feels in my body. So I'm trying really hard to write into that. I think we think that joy is trite. That we think joy is for kids, and I think joy is for grown-ups, man. We've got to make joy a grown-up thing.